Hey, you. Yeah, you. Did you know that you could retire in 10 years if you're white, rich, and married? Well, if you're not one of those things or all three of those things, as you may not be if you're on my channel, that's okay. That's more than okay, alright? I'm gonna explain why the FIRE community might still be for you. Alright. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, All Good Things. And on this episode of Money Bag Monday, we're gonna deep dive a little bit into more of these FIRE books that I've read. Alright, so the first one, Playing with Fire. And the second one, Meet The Frugalwoods. Alright, now, and I know there's definitely been some talk around the FIRE community. I have thought of it myself. Is the FIRE community only for white, rich, married people? Or the privileged? And can anyone, people of color, lower income families also achieve FIRE independence or financial independence within 10 years? Or is that something that's reserved for the privileged or for the haves? Alright, so I did my own research into this as well. And you know what? If I did come across the channel Our Rich Journey, maybe I would have thought this too. All of the books and all of the media, most of the media that I've read about the FIRE community, they do happen to be white, rich, and married. Now for sure, I think it makes things a lot easier, alright? And I was watching a channel, actually, I'll have to tag the video, where they kind of go through, is it easier to reach financial independence or is it easier to be on this journey if you're married or single? And a lot of the checks were like, check, married, check, married, or, you know, because it's a lot easier to reach financial independence when you're living on two incomes or when you're already wealthy, all right? There's some level of like additional help and ease that comes from those things. So let's kind of backtrack and go through what the FIRE journey is anyway. All right, if you're not familiar, the FIRE, F-I-R-E, Financial Independence, Retire Early. All right, it's a movement, a lifestyle, a mindset that basically through intense focus and extreme they focus on three things where you're cutting your expenses, you're investing the difference, and you're increasing your income. All right, so the less you spend, the more you make, the more you can invest, which in turn allows you to retire a lot earlier than the typical 30, 40, 50 years, because who has time for that anymore? Okay, so that's kind of the whole mindset, which I was like, of course I was immediately drawn to it because it was never my intention to work a corporate job for 40, 50, whatever years. I don't know how it was done before our generation, but honestly, I feel like people of my age, millennials or whatever we're being called nowadays, don't have to do this. Like, if you, like, basically I feel like anyone who was born my generation, late 1990s, early 2000s, don't have to work until they're 60 if they actually like think about their finances and plan out their life right, because that's insane to me. All right, but that kind of goes into what the FIRE journey is. Now both of these books actually both of them come from white, privileged, and they're married. Now I like this Meet The Frugalwoods. She actually goes into this. And the first chapter, she actually explains her privilege, and she says that she knows that not everyone, if they followed her plan or her lifestyle exactly, could meet these end results, because she is privileged, and she had to kind of mention that too, which I respected her a lot for doing that. Not a lot of people, definitely not a lot of like white wealthy people take the time to be like, hey, listen, I know I could reach financial independence in 5-10 years, but there's also some systematic things that also led me here. Like she goes on to say that both her parents were college educated. Her parents paid for her college, well, part of it, and then she worked for part of it as well. So she graduated, which is a huge thing, graduated debt free, got a job right away. She got married very young, I think 23 in the book, so they were living on combined incomes. So it's a lot easier to save as well when both of you guys are making like $50,000. And you don't actually need $50,000 to live on, especially when you're like 24, like, you know, so it was easier to kind of get a head start. So she appreciates and she thanks her parents and her family for the head start that she got. And then with the FIRE community too, I was surprised. And they actually go into it too, where they even mention that they were both like, they're making 6 figures, living paycheck to paycheck. And I was like, why would you do that? But it's kind of like, they explain like the lifestyle creep. Is that how you say it? The lifestyle creep. I think it might be it. Correct me if I'm wrong. But anyways, where it's like you make more, so you spend more. And this happens all the time. People get a promotion, they get a brand new car that they can't afford. Or people get like a small raise, they move to a new house. Or people like, you know, like they will find a way to spend whatever they earn. But they're just living in a very lavish lifestyle. And both of them came to terms with the fact that instead of working 30, 40 years, spending 70-80% of their savings, if they saved 70% of their savings, they could retire a whole lot sooner. And 10 years to be exact for Elizabeth, and 11 years to be exact for Scott. And both of them were making 6 figures, and both of them had kids, or they had one child on this journey. Now let's start with Meet Frugalwoods. All right, and I made a little joke in the beginning. Is this only for white rich people? And it's funny because their whole thing about this book being frugal, and I looked up the difference between frugal and cheap for you, just so I could have some, you know, evidence. But according to Money US News, they're actually like doing a feature. So I got this from their site. All right, it says cheap is purely and simply about spending less, and frugal is about prioritizing your savings so you can have more of the things you really care about. Dwell in that, and like this explains the whole book. So she realizes she's miserable. She has this high-paying job and they're living in the city, and she never has time to go out to do nature, to do things that she likes to do. They're both working all the time nonstop. Both of them were kind of separating, well, not like emotionally kind of separating, not as close as they used to be. And she explains like gaining weight from the stress of like her job and going through school, all of that, and they didn't want it anymore. And you know what, that's something that I can relate to, because it's like, ew, who wants to do that for 40 years? Like, if you love your job and you love your career, dope. Work 60, 100 years if you can. All right, that's awesome. But not every one of us works our passion, and that's okay. Like in this book, I don't even know if it was one of these 2 books, to be honest. I read a lot of books lately, but I remember one helpful thing that I wish I had known. This is all for my high school, pre-college, or in college viewers. I thought like that advice would have been so helpful. It's like, find a job that respects you, that likes you, or that respects you, that you like, and that you are paid well for your time, and make your whole life about finding your passions. And that's kind of what they did unintentionally, I think, because it's like they worked their nonprofit jobs for 10 years and they were very frugal. I explained prioritizing your spending and savings. They were very, very frugal for 10 years, and they were able to retire around, I think it was like 33. 9 to 5, 40-hour a week thing like that was over. And I was like, I like that. Like, let me show you the book again. I like how she goes through her journey, and I like her personality. Like, she has her sense of humor moments to this, and she explains like their journey, and of course up and downs. And it's like, I loved her intense focus though, because you can say that, oh, she came from a privileged background, and oh, she was already wealthy. It's easier for wealthy people to become wealthy or stay wealthy. She was never in debt to begin with. Okay, that's fair. You can say that. And she even says that herself in the first chapter. But it's like, you gotta respect her frugalness. I'm like, dang. Like, saving money, that's what's up. Like, being intentional about what you're spending and saving so that you can retire early and live the life that you want, that's what's up. And I was like, So I really like this book. 5 stars. Okay, I think it was my second FIRE book that I've read. Now, my first FIRE book that I read, this one, Playing with Fire. And it's basically, this whole book explains that 1 year or 2 in his life where he realized that like he didn't want to do this forever. And reading this book, I was low-key judging them. I'm not gonna lie, because I was like, y'all make 6 figures and y'all still can't save? What? But that could be said for me too. Like it could be said for anybody. Like this lifestyle creep, I think it's creep, not creek. This lifestyle creep that happens to a lot of people. And I mean, I could be saying that for myself, because I know so many college kids who are graduating with no college debt, and here I was 22 with $45,000 in debt. Like, so don't judge people. So anyways, I like that he goes throughout this book and he says, like, he not like only shares his story, but he mentions other people's story as well who's been on the FIRE journey. And I like that he mentions like a diverse group of people. All right, so it's not, because he mentions that too, where it's like, is it just for the white and rich? Stay tuned to find out. But he mentions like couples who are on a lower income, like single moms with kids, and obviously it kind of takes you longer if you're in that situation. But the whole point is retiring as early as you can. So if it's 5 years, dope. If it's 10 years, if it's 20 years, like, still better. 30 years, still better than the projected 50 or 60 that some of us have to end up working. So it may take them longer, obviously. It obviously helps a whole lot if you're married and can combine your income and savings, and it helps if you're wealthy so that you can easily save like 60 or 70, 80 grand a year versus a single person like me making 40 grand. It's kind of like, well, it's gonna be kind of hard to reach your number if I make half of what you make, you know. But they go through their thing. So I'm gonna read this. It's page 40. They kind of evaluate what they're doing before. Okay, so they were saying that, okay, lately we've been having a savings rate of 16%, which means that they were saving 16% of everything they made. And so I'm going to go through it. So if they continued the way they were spending and living in California, they were going to retire in 35 years. 35 years. By saving, I'm going to go through it, by saving $22,000 a year and by spending $120,000 a year. That's what they were doing, like living paycheck to paycheck, but for wealthy people. All right. And then they realized that, oh, if you kind of swap that math, like, and save 58% of everything that both of you and I make, so they're saving half of their income, they can save $80,000 and only spend $60,000 compared to what they were doing before, and retire in 11 years. And what? Like, and he said that, like, after he explained this math to his wife, like, she was like, oh, well, we're doing this. Because at that point, like, she wasn't spending time with her kid, and she was kind of like, I don't want to live like it's forever either. And they were like, well, you know, if we kind of intensely save, be frugal, live on less for 10 years, we can literally retire 20 years earlier than we would have. I was like, wow. That's huge, all right? And I've done this math myself too. Obviously, my numbers are different. I'm not making $120,000 a year yet. All right, so my math is different, but it still adds up. Like, if you actually intensively, and they actually saved less, guys. So they saved 58%. The couple and the Frugalwoods saved like 70%. All right, so if you can at least like save half of everything that you make, preferably 70-80%, you can still retire in 10 years, at most 15 years. Like, it's possible. Both of these books, they're saying that they use used cars and public transportation whenever available. They refuse to buy new cars because it takes so much time. Like, the interest and just the amount of time you're paying it off just doesn't help, you know? So if you can buy used, even better. Speed up your saving process. This whole thing is about getting there as fast as you can, but as comfortable as you can too. Obviously, like, don't eat bananas for 10 years straight trying to reach financial independence. No, like, there's a balance to this, and both of them kind of find their balance, and I feel like you're comfortable spending and saving. All right. So this whole book is their personal journey, and they go through other people's journey as well. They do little tips. They talk about how they even move to a lower lower cost of living area just to maximize your savings and it's a lot of information, but both of these were easy reads. Like, these two books remind me of the importance of intentful, mindful spending, being conscious with yourself, like making budgets, and even if you don't believe in budgets, okay, fine, well, track your spending and still realize like how much you're giving or taking. And because it's like they both have to reevaluate, look in the mirror and actually evaluate, like, is this making me happy? Like, and they kind of go through this moment, like every time before you spend, make it a conscious act. Like, okay, like, is this making me happy, or is this like a temporary satisfaction thing that I could better use this money to invest? All right, because if you think, like, what you invest every 10 years it doubles. So instead of spending like 60 grand on a car, you could invest that, and that would be 120,000 in 10 years, or, you know. So there's just, they realize the trade-off of things, and not a lot of people, myself included, actually think that way. And I thought that was important. It's like changing the way you think about finances. Like, seriously, like, does this make me happy? And if not, then can your money be spent in better ways? All right. Play with your savings rate. Just this week, do it. Like, try to save more of your paycheck or spend less, and kind of see what that sweet balance is for you. Because even if you're saving 5% more, then you're helping yourself. Future you will thank you. All right, guys. I hope you found this entertaining or educational at the very least. All right, and as I like to say, learning is super fun, and at the very least, learning can make you lots of money. Okay, so both of these, learning about it, I feel like my bank account just grew. I'm like, ooh, I could be frugal, ooh, save 70%, retire in 10 years. That's my type of lifestyle. Like, that's me. Okay, so if you find that this lifestyle might be for you too, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. Okay, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and hit that bell. All right, so that you can be alerted to more content like this. All right, and we shall be back on Wednesday for more amazing financial content. Hydrate yourself.